they're meant to be objective and serving the public. And what you saw today, even when Todd Blanche slipped up and said, I'm the president's lawyer, you're actually not.
I know you're trying to get a social media clip, Charles, but
do you know,
I think Savita was trying to talk. I know you're trying to get your social media clip for the gotcha. I answered your question already, but I'm also not here to answer to you. So
I'm happy that you told me that because I really appreciate. I'm sorry. No. I really appreciate you lecturing me about what I'm here to do because I'm here because Abby's show invited me here, and I have been in journalism for a very long time. In fact, I came to the New York Times the year that you were born. So I suggest that you choose a lane that is your own and stay in it, and don't lecture me because I won't be lectured by a child.
Guys, MAGA pundits have become so damn shameless. They're now defending the worst of the worst, the filthiest people of this country. Guys, I do not understand why MAGA can't hold their leaders accountable for once. I mean, if you just look at all the available evidence, it screams the fact that their leader has been involved in some really bad stuff in the past. I mean, just question him for once and stand on the right side of history. Last night on Abby Phillips' show on CNN, progressive journalist Charles Blow fact-checked Lydia Moynihan so hard, she was cornered into complete silence. Now I'm going to play some clips from the show. I'll give my opinion as we go.
Tonight, a split-screen job interview for two of the most important positions in the government. Todd Blanche and Jay Clayton were grilled on Capitol Hill today, trying to convince senators that they could be the next Attorney General and the next Director of National Intelligence, respectively. They were trying to do a delicate dance, giving answers that would satisfy President Trump and answers that won't sink their nominations, given that Republicans have a thin majority in the Senate right now. Now, Blanche immediately came under fire for his involvement in a number of controversial moves by the DOJ, including the handling of the Epstein files, his past comments on Trump's January 6th pardons, Trump's lawsuit against the IRS, and that so-called slush fund that came from that settlement. Now, Blanche couldn't escape the concerns about his past role as the president's former personal attorney, something that he actually brought attention to and very ill-timed slip-up.
Are you and President Trump friends?
I'm his lawyer, was his lawyer, and now I'm the Deputy Attorney General.
Blanche was also challenged about that $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. At least one Republican on the Judiciary Committee isn't convinced that the fund is really and truly dead.
Did Todd Blanche satisfy your concerns about the weaponization fund?
Well, basically he confirmed that it's not dead. He agreed that it could be enforced as a matter of contract.
Does that concern you?
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean that how does that affect your decision about whether to vote for him or not?
Well, I have to put that in the mix.
So you're truly undecided right now.
Yeah.
Retired U.S. District Judge Shira Shendlin joins us in our fifth seat. Let's start with Todd Blanche, because I think his candidness, or perhaps lack thereof, in some cases, is part of the issue here. And did you get the sense from what you've seen at this hearing that he made a good show of what you think the Justice Department should be about, if you, in fact, believe that it should be independent of the president's will?
Well, I do believe it should be independent of the president, and that the Attorney General should serve the United States, be loyal to the Constitution, and therefore to the people. But it hasn't seemed that way in the time he's been the Deputy Attorney General, now the Acting Attorney General. He seems to continue to feel as if he's the president's lawyer. In so many ways, I have found his performance disappointing, to say the least. And I can give you some of the reasons for that. People he's gone after, without much justification, seem to be the president's perceived enemies, as if the president is saying, please prosecute the following people. And that's
Which
not...
he said. He has, in fact, said that. Yeah.
Well, he said it directly to Pam Bondi. He said, I want you to do this. But even since Blanche has been there, he seems to have continued that by continuing to go after James Comey for the seashells on the beach, which really doesn't sound like a criminal case to me, to going after certain other people, Tish James, John Brennan, a whole list of folks that seem to be the president's chosen enemy. So that's one thing I would fault him for. Secondly, this fake settlement, this weaponization fund and the immunity from prosecution on the tax audits, that was very troubling because the lawyers were not honest with the court. And that's a big problem. To tell the court there's no settlement when there is a settlement, That's not right, and that's been going on.
And he was caught in this today, Cher Michael, because he acknowledged that he kept saying it's dead, but he acknowledged that there's actually nothing in writing that says that it's dead, and there's nothing in writing that says that the president, who's the plaintiff, can't try to revive it by basically saying we have a deal and it's written down here, and you said you were going to create this fund. So, I mean, how is he to be believed? And it sounds like John Cornyn, who's going to be a pivotal vote, doesn't believe him.
All right, I'm going to pause here for a bit. Guys, do not forget that Blanche is the same guy who had Maxwell move from a high security to a low security prison. I don't understand why anyone would expect him to do anything in support of Epstein's victims. Dude is a key player in the Epstein sex trafficking ring, and in my opinion, he would go to any lengths to protect the people named in those documents. Blanche met with their abuser, Ghislaine Maxwell, way before he met with the victims. Maxwell is now in a minimum security prison getting all sorts of favors, while Blanche refuses to release the remaining documents. I mean, the man is literally protecting the worst criminals of this country, the people who were involved in horrible stuff. Guys, I remember exactly what his statement was, in which he said, "It isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein." I mean, I don't understand how someone can be so damn shameless. At this point, guys, all I know is that if this guy becomes the AG, he's going to bootlick Trump 24/7, and he's going to prove to be the worst attorney general in United States history. Blanche has been Trump's personal attorney and is way too close to him to be a fair attorney general. And secondly, guys, what makes me sick is that Blanche is a brazen supporter of forgetting about the Epstein files. Trump fired Bondi for not doing a good enough job deflecting his involvement with Epstein, and now Trump wants Blanche because he knows Blanche would do his bidding and would do whatever he orders him to. Guys, this is the same guy that worked both sides of Trump's lawsuit against the IRS and tried to take $1.8 billion from taxpayers to give to Trump and his buddies. And don't forget, the whole no audit from the IRS is also still going through the courts. 2 independent watchdog groups filed suit against Trump and his administration for such insanity. And Todd Blanche has his corrupt fingers all over that too. There's going to be a slew of bodies when this whole attempted heist is over. Blanche should not only be disbarred, but jailed as well. And guys, the way things are moving ahead right now, I believe at some point Trump would get so frustrated with the Epstein scandal that his administration would make it illegal for the public to even talk about it. Because that's literally the only way they can make this scandal disappear. Guys, I do not understand why Republicans are so afraid to ask for accountability from their leader. I mean, why does MAGA get so angry whenever someone calls out Trump? Why can't they just look at the allegations from a neutral perspective? It just makes me sick.
Yeah, look, that's a point of consternation, I think, for the individuals that are tasked with ultimately getting him confirmed. I've been through this process before during the first Trump administration, having a nominee ultimately go before a committee, going through the murder board process, sitting with Dems, sitting with Republicans. And sometimes you do have to make concessions to get your person across the finish line. And I think listening to Manu's question to Senator Cornyn, they may have to go back and put this in writing in order to get his vote. Now, there's a couple ways this could work out. He could ultimately vote to get him out of committee, but then say, I'm not going to vote for him on the floor. And so I think if you're the Sherpa, you have to be very careful with not losing votes here. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but I think you may have to put this thing in writing and say, look, this is over. This is a done deal.
Let me play. This is Jay Clayton. He's the guy that Trump has chosen to become the director of national intelligence. And obviously, Trump has been very clear. He wants that office to now be concerned with his 2020 election conspiracies and so on and so forth. This is Clayton answering questions about just a basic question of fact. Listen.
Who won the 2020 election? I'm not, this is like, I'm just not, I'm here to talk about my qualifications.
So he won the election.
He followed our process, had the most electoral votes, was declared the winner.
You refuse to answer a simple matter of fact about the 2020 election. Is that right?
No, that's not right.
Then answer the question. Who won the 2020 election?
I have answered the question.
Answer it. What is your answer?
I've given you my answer.
What is your answer? You refuse to answer a basic question about who won a presidential election, but you asked to lead America's intelligence community?
Lydia, that's kind of embarrassing and maybe a little concerning if, intelligence is what he wants to have the job of doing, if he can't just state a fact, how can he do that other job?
I mean, he'd been asked, I think, 3 times at that point, and he did mince words. I would have liked him just to say yes and put an end to the discussion. But there's a lot of theatrics at these kind of hearings. John Ossoff got his soundbite, and Republicans kind of do the same thing. They love to ask, what is a woman? And Ketanji Brown Jackson couldn't answer. A lot of people still can't answer that question. So to me, it's theatrics. I do have to say, it's funny. I feel like we've sat at this table so many times and bashed Pam Bondi and Bill Pulte. And I kind of thought maybe people would be glad to have Jay Clayton and Todd Blanche, people who are eminently qualified for these jobs. And I think at the end of the day, it's a question of, do you want Jay Clayton or do you want Bill Pulte?
I actually think that the two people that were on the Hill today.
Wait, hold on. The two people now, but he couldn't do it.
The two people that were on the Hill today.
I know you're trying to get a social media clip, Charles, but
do you know?
I think Savita was trying to talk. I know you're trying to get your social media clip for the gotcha. I answered your question already, but I'm also not here to answer to you. So
I'm happy that you told me that because I really appreciate. I'm sorry. I really appreciate you lecturing me about what I'm here to do because I'm here because Abby's show invited me here, and I have been in journalism for a very long time. In fact, I came to the New York Times the year that you were born. So I suggest that you choose a lane that is your own and stay in it, and don't lecture me because I won't be lectured by a child. Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
So I think, to what Lydia was saying about these people being qualified, I would disagree that these are qualified individuals. I think what you saw on the Hill were two people that are quite grossly not qualified for the offices that they're seeking and will do the bidding, to the point that you're making. They're supposed to serve the American people. The Attorney General is meant to be a check on the administration, on the president, and they're meant to be objective and serving the public. And what you saw today, even when Todd Blanche slipped up and said, I'm the president's lawyer, you're actually not.
All right, I'm going to pause here for a bit. Guys, Todd Blanche has also vowed to end abortion pills by mail. I mean, you can literally see the man is working on Trump's Project 2025. This makes me so damn angry. I mean, anti-abortion is not a winning political issue. At this point, I think they know they can't win midterms legitimately and are now doubling and tripling down on their most unpopular policies like abortion ban, Iran war, tariffs, etc., just hoping all the election meddling will get them close enough numerically so they can scream rigged election and have it all tied up in court for years. It makes me so sick that Trump's personal lawyer is going to be the country's next attorney general. This is proper banana republic stuff. And we're just sleepwalking into full-blown fascism, essentially. Blanche runs the Department of Justice as Trump's private law firm bent on his petty vengeance whims. And secondly, guys, I was watching the testimony. One thing that really stuck out to me was the Republican senators are the worst people in America. It's almost impressive how they are the bottom of the barrel in morals, intelligence, human decency. Katie Britt, for example, said, what a good job Blanche has done with the Epstein case. I mean, what the F? Guys, we really are living in the upside down. These MAGA cultists believe they can just say the opposite of objective facts over and over and label true efforts of accountability for crimes as political retribution or weaponization, and that makes it all true. Yet, when actual weaponization and unconscionable grift by the current regime happens right out in the open, they just happily look the other way and see no problems. I'm so embarrassed and outraged by these sick, twisted idiots.
You're actually the lawyer, the attorney general for the public. And so I think what was displayed on Capitol Hill today, yes, you're right. There were theatrics, but they weren't wrong. I mean, facts are facts. I mean, who won the election in 2020? Is the sky blue? I mean, that is a very easy question that could have been answered, and yet there was a struggle. So I do think you have unqualified people up there. I do think the Senate ultimately probably rallies around these two individuals.
And I would say that on the Clayton issue, there are people who, our friend Ellie Honig in the last hour made a very compelling case that he is not qualified.
Yeah, but
he has no background. He has no background in intelligence. Actually,
I think, look, I agree that the Attorney General should not curry favor for an individual, but adhere to the Constitution. I think most of us at the table would probably agree with that. But as it pertains to Todd, I think it's hard to say he's not qualified. I mean, the guy was at Southern District of New York, moved up through the ranks. Ellie Honig actually worked with him. The current Attorney General for New York, Alvin Bragg, worked with him as well. So it's okay to disagree. Yeah. I'm going to give you the room for that.
But
you have the right to do that. But the corny question is the real question here, because Cornyn has offered the same objection to all of them. Sure. Merrick, to Bundy, and now to Blanche, which is he's saying, I need to make sure that you can tell me that the DOJ will be independent of the president.
That's a legitimate.
Right, that is a
and
he is not there.
And that's why I said, though, Charles,
I do have to make one important point.
Sorry, Your Honor, go ahead.
This is a man who said that his administration and he are at war with the judiciary. That's a terrible thing to have said. Nobody should be at war with the judiciary. There are 3 co-equal branches of government, as we know. He also has called judges rogue. He has also criticized their opinions in a way that's not appropriate. So, and he and his people have been disrespectful and lied to the court such that there's no longer a presumption of regularity, which means that judges no longer believe DOJ lawyers. 16,000 people have left the DOJ since this man got here because they worked on cases that the president thinks were wrongly brought against him. So they were just summarily fired.
Let me just play another interaction. He was asked about his comments about the January 6th pardons by a senator. And I'm going to play what he said in the hearing today and what he actually said in that appearance that was being questioned about. Listen.
And you've bragged that bringing justice for violent rioters meant that every one of them was either pardoned or had their sentence commuted.
Almost everything the senator just said, and he's protected, he's allowed to lie, but almost everything he just said was absolutely false. I wasn't celebrating it, I was merely stating a fact.
If you look at what happened to the men and women convicted because of January 6th, by 5 p.m. on January 20th, every one of them was either pardoned or had their sentence commuted, okay? So when folks say you've done nothing, I say you have a very short memory.
I don't know. I mean, it does very much sound there that he's defending the decision to pardon these rioters.
That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, he tried to thread the needle today by saying that, that it was right to prosecute them, but also not condemning Trump's decision to pardon them. So how do you have it both ways? Either they did something that was horrible and they needed to be prosecuted and therefore punished for it, and also say, well, the president has the absolute right to do whatever he wants to do, and I'm not going to comment on that.
Well, but he did say to get some votes, he did say, and we'll look into the way the pardon power is exercised. So he kind of threw a bone, I thought.
We don't believe
That's
that.
sort of like that and nothing are the same thing because there is nothing he can do about the way the pardon power.
I understand that. And he said that. He said he was throwing a bone to try to get those last votes.
Guys, what makes me really sick is the fact that MAGA still can't see why Trump removed Pam Bondi and wants to replace her with Blanche. I mean, how do they not realize he's not releasing the Epstein files because he and all his cronies are in the damn things? He ran out of basis of releasing the files and exposing all the Democrats in them, and then betrayed his base. At this point, guys, I feel like MAGA doesn't really care whether their leader was involved with Epstein or not. Even if some of them think he's involved, they simply do not care. As long as they are owning the libs and hurting the ones they hate, they're ready to ignore any sins of the Orange Man because, after all, he is a rich and powerful man, and MAGA is really attracted to people who are rich and powerful and immoral. MAGA is now a cult at this point. They're literally worshiping Trump. I remember Trump said himself in 2016 that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a single supporter. So, I mean, the MAGA base is completely blind at this point. They're not capable of seeing him in anything less than the orange idol that they worship. And it's not funny either. It's really pathetic. Honestly, guys, let's use our imagination and pretend that Trump is not in those files and that he never had a friendship with Epstein. There's still the no new wars con, the gutting of healthcare, the overall cost of household goods, gas and energy cost increases, struggling farmers getting effed over harder than ever, massive job loss, so much more. He's a complete failure in every single measurable metric. I wish that I could at least say that his redecorating and monument restoration efforts were doing something, but even those are complete disasters. Guys, MAGA is the most egregious example of the lie we all agreed on. They know their leader has done horrible stuff in the past. I mean, if we follow the pattern, which president cut 71% of the staff from the office to monitor and combat human trafficking? Obama? Biden? No, it was Trump. Which president cut 69 international programs combating labor and human trafficking? Clinton? Carter? Nope, it was also Trump. How about which president froze funding and withheld terms of millions of congressionally mandated aid for domestic trafficking and withheld the release of the legally mandated annual global human trafficking report? Was it one of the Bushes? No, Trump again. And which president reassigned DHS agents who were specifically assigned to anti-trafficking and moved them to immigration enforcement? That answer, which would surprise nobody at this point, is Donald Trump. So, I mean, guys, MAGA has decided to ignore all of it. All of a sudden, they don't give a damn about any of the promises Trump made to the election campaign. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow with another video.